Putin is set to win a record post-Soviet landslide in Russia's elections that's underway. Remember, these are the early results that are predicting Putin set to secure an 88% of vote, and he is all likely to begin his 6-year term, which will be his 5th in the office. The early results mean Putin will easily secure a new 6-year term that would enable him to overtake Joseph Stalin and become Russia's longest-serving leader for more than 200 years. We have our senior executive editor Abhishek Kapoor joining us on the phone line on the story. Abhishek, good morning. Abhishek, can you hear me?
Yes.
Good morning, Abhishek. We are getting the latest breaking news that Russian President Putin is set to secure another term with a landslide victory. He's said to be securing about 88% of the votes in the early results. What more do we know?
Well, yes, so there was no suspense as to who would win, and there is no surprise, obviously, in the early results that are coming in. And remember, these are not like private agency exit polls. These are the Election Commission of Russia announcing 87.9% vote share going to President Putin of the about 25% precinct votes that they have counted. Now, like in the case of India, at least geography-wise, it's a huge exercise spreading across 11 time zones. So obviously, it's going to take a bit of time. The polling took place over 3 days, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, closed 6 p.m. Yesterday. Subsequently, counting is going on. President Putin, as you rightly mentioned, as he completes this 6th term for which he has 5th term for which he has got this victory, would be becoming the longest-serving ruler of Russia over almost 2 centuries, surpassing Joseph Stalin. And there were 3 other opponents apart from against President Putin. Symbolic contest there. President Putin is a strong leader and continues to hold sway over much of the Russian establishment. So in a way, this result was a foregone conclusion. Remember, this is happening in the backdrop of a war which has gone on for 2 years. Typically, when a war is going on, it strengthens the incumbent further, and that's getting reflected in the vote share increase, also in the voting percentage increase over the last election that took place sometime in 2018. And that really gives you an idea of the kind of consolidation of power that we have seen happening in favor of President Putin in Russia. We remember this is also happening with the overhang of the Alexei Navalny episode with the former opponent of President Putin dying in a prison in Serbia. I beg your pardon, he dying in a prison, and there have been protests. This time, little louder, I would say, vis-a-vis last time because of the Alexei Navalny death, and the protests have been more pronounced, perhaps outside Russia than inside. But even inside, the protests were, one would say, larger in number, or at least more publicized, maybe because of social media. And despite that, President Putin has won. And as I said, this was a foregone conclusion. There was no suspense before the results, and there is no element of surprise after the results. And President Putin obviously consolidating his power further in the Russian establishment and in Moscow. This also means that it's going to have consequences in terms of the war in Europe not coming to end anytime soon. We have seen hardening of positions on both the sides. And the European side is particularly getting restless with demands led by the French and the French President Emmanuel Macron of physically joining the war. And if NATO really gets in, then of course we are looking at a wider conflagration. So this victory of President Putin really strengthens him further in terms of taking decisions and continue to guide the trajectory of not just the European war, but effectively what's really going to happen in entire Europe over the next couple of years.
Right, Abhishek. So we know that yesterday voting was also held in the Indian Embassy of Russia in India. When can we expect the official results on the election, though?
Okay, so since it's been about 12 hours and about 25% of the votes have been counted, you can expect, Kriti, that the rest of the three-fourths of the votes that need to be counted should be taking another 2 or 3 days. And then whatever time it takes for the Central Election Commission of Russia to notify the results. So maybe another 3-4 days, which means to this coming week, the final result should be out. But then this is quite a representative sample. If 25% of the votes have been counted, the Central Election Commission has said that Putin has got 87.9% votes. I don't think there's going to be any change in this result.